We all want to be happy. We all want to have, our small garden and have a place to take a coffee. We all want to have a place to have fun with our friends. And we all want now to have an environment at work that will reflect this new lifestyle. We are a new humanity, and we need new business, new corporations, and emotions are parts of our life. And what happened, the change that is so huge, and even from COVID and everything, it makes us thinking more deeply, feeling more deeply, and being more deeply. In the round table that we bring when we go in corporation, I always put this discussion up front that the new generation, they need to also understand through respect about the efforts that previous generations have done for them to create this world that they have today. A good leader is bright, and he knows the potential, and he's capable of doing a consensus. And a best idea is not coming from one person. One person can bring 10% of the idea, the other one 8%, and then you do the round table, you put all the percentage and the departments together, and then you have the best idea. Employees will not stay. They will not be loyal. As soon as they can, bye-bye. They go to a better place where they are recognized, where they will have a place that they can feel empowered in the structure.
Hello Kaya, welcome to EQ for Business discussion. We really thank you for your time today.
It's a great joy to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Over a period of time, Kaya, in the world of business and corporate, EQ has become the latest, if I can say, buzzword in the industry. And increasingly, companies are focusing on having a strong EQ culture. If we take a step back, since industrialization, when modernization began, businesses became big. Business was primarily always about numbers. In some extent, even today, they talk about bottom line, top line, forecasts, skill sets, machines, etc. And there is a saying which also says that don't be so emotional when you take business decision. From there to now, in 2024, I was reading an article in Forbes magazine. It says EQ or emotional intelligence is the topmost skill set that companies are looking for in 2024. So with your expertise and experience on emotional intelligence, can you please guide us and help us understand what do we mean by EQ? And how can one develop this EQ quotient, these qualities as a professional?
The reason why EQ is not just a trend anymore, it is because it increased quality on all levels. When you are a company, you are in contact with your suppliers, with your clients, so you always to try to give the best potential service, and relationships are very important in business. Because the world has changed, and the world is changing very fast. If we go back to industrialization, evolution has always been a key element of humanity on all levels. So industrialization, hundreds of years from now, they were basically very tough. It was more the numbers than today. It has improved a lot for sure. This is a step that is natural because we always try to refine ourselves in societies. And in everything we search with time, quality. The quantity is a first step somehow, because when you reach it, eventually you will try to improve yourself. It's like a mathematic equation that tries to balance and tries also to secure the quality in the process. In business, in companies, in factories, we always try to update the product. We always try to listen also to the customers, because if we are receptive to them, then we know what we have to do tomorrow. So this is the same thing for corporation, and this is why now EQ is absolutely essential. We are there now. We cannot have rough and tough conditions like we had a few hundred years back. No one wants to be there. Even owners of companies, they don't want that, because they improve their life also when the EQ improves. And EQ is an element in the consciousness of humans that gives multi-dimensional perceptions. And not just perception, but also improvement, quality. Quality can only be reached when we have a global understanding of something. And this is why we improve ourselves. This is why we improve a product, because we have done it, we have sold many units, and then suddenly we say, we have to update, maybe a new color, maybe a new shape. We do this with cars all the time. Why? How come we don't keep the same models? Because we change, our perception change, and there's a huge evolution right now because of technologies. Humans are more intelligent than ever. They see a lot of things. They are expert in TikTok, so they can see the new trend, the new coffee shop, the new clothes, the new this and that. So they develop also a form of globalization, and it is not just a sector or just for elites anymore. It's for all dynamics of societies. And all countries now are increasing their EQ with technologies. So that's why naturally EQs needs to be adjusted in corporation, and management needs to understand this is not just a trend, this is a must now.
Kaya, interesting that you spoke about technological advancement. It just brings a point. Initially, even if you look at the jobs and the work that was done earlier, it was more mechanical, generic in nature, like a foreman in the factory or a clerk or an accountant. And now, over a period of time, there is a lot of focus on artificial intelligence, automating things, which requires specialized skill sets. And probably corporations are realizing the importance of retaining specialized skill set and respecting that. So do you think because of this change, now when we are working more on intuition, more on advanced technologies, this has also made leaders think about retaining talent, about ensuring that we have right set of people in place. Now no more we can be generic, hiring and firing won't work anymore, and hence the need to have more focus on emotional intelligence. Do you think any correlation here?
Yes, because advanced technologies are linked to more qualities, more also observation, more also aspects where you need to understand the product in different angles, because you create them normally now over computer designs. So before it is the product is manifested. So we have developed this new global dynamic of intelligence that makes us add emotion. Our emotions are bringing the color to an idea. They are bringing also the depth of something. We listen to music everywhere, from supermarkets to when we do jogging, and we have now the globalization, not just on one sector. Music, arts, products, they travel at the speed of the light. Imagine if we go back 30, 40, 50 years from now. I'm a grandpa now, and I have seen the world changed. And it's very interesting because a product, when we were young, was taking a lot of time before it was on multiple markets. We didn't have these all distribution channels organized from one country to another. Now it is so normal that if you don't have the product that has been released in a country, you don't understand. You want this also available everywhere. So global companies, they understand that. They understand also that diversities and the culture of work is becoming the same. We all want to be happy. We all want to have, our small garden and have a place to take a coffee. We all want to have a place to have fun with our friends. And we all want now to have an environment at work that will reflect this new lifestyle. And this is the new intelligence of corporation. The big ones are getting there, and the medium companies also, they see the benefit of creating a world where work is not just an aspect where you need to suffer and you need to have pressure and you need to be, unhappy because results and numbers creates this cold energies and these cold relationships between managers and employees. And now the new generations, forget about that. If you try to do this, you will not keep them on the board. So it's a good thing, but it's a big adjustment. And that's why we need to go now in companies to talk about EQ. This is not just a normal training, this is an adjustment. And I believe doing this is also a service to humanity to adapt to the changes of mentalities that technologies have brought to our life.
You have opened up so many threads in my mind, and I would like to ask those questions one by one. So you're absolutely right. Nowadays, we are observing something like a dress down policy in companies, no more uptight suits and ties, and they are okay to wear casual or jeans, or so that employees feel ease at work. There is also a hybrid working environment. In most of the companies, employees are not required to come for all 5 days to office, 3 days from office, 2 days from home. There are a lot of global changes also that's happening. Geopolitical scenarios, when COVID came, it just changed our way of living. So are all of these linked with each other? Because I see that, when COVID came in, hybrid work started, corporations or businesses, they started to focus more on the emotional intelligence aspect, ensuring that the work environment is conducive and taken care of so that productivity increases. Do you see any linkages with all of this now that we are more globalized and more connected with each other?
I remember 25 years ago, I was teaching about the tie symbol. And for me, this is something that is obvious that had to be recycled because it's not practical. And when we think about it, it's like something around the neck that looks more like a leash for a dog sometimes. So you see, we change. The dress code was there with the tie before, and we couldn't even imagine that one day we would say it's okay, so it's fine, we don't need that anymore. It was a symbol of success. It was a symbol also of masculine affirmation, because if we look at the tie, we have also the symbol of masculine intimacy, if we look at it that way. So there are a lot of unconscious aspects in life, and when something is not necessary, it changes. Globalization is often done with common sense, like the traffic lights. We have red, yellow, and green, and there's no reason to change that. And unconsciously, it has an effect also. The red color symbolically is connecting to the blood, so it's connecting to fire, danger, explosion, anger. So it has an effect on the unconscious mind. And the yellow is the confidence, so the sun, the energy, so that we need to measure when we decide to open up. to shine. So there's a form of in between. It comes also from red also, because you have yellow and red. So this is very profound to understand that how the effect we have. And in emotional intelligence in business, we study that. We explain green. Green is linked to the nature symbolically. So if you decide to use green in the products for the design, there's a reason for that also. If you put red, if you put orange, if you put a black color or whatever. This is amazing when we talk about emotional intelligence, because we go deep in the subjects, and now we have to understand emotions not just as a binary code where I'm happy or angry. It's much more than that. It's the color of life. It's also the color of the qualities that we express in relationships. And being good in EQ is also amazing for success, because the top CEOs and management, they have a lot of EQ. They just don't know it, but they have this very naturally. That's why they are hired. At certain position, you don't look only about the skills and academics. You need to check the personality. A VP marketing needs to look like a VP marketing. He has to be able to talk to people and to say hello and shake hands the right way, unless, he cannot be or she cannot be a VP marketing. Emotional intelligence is giving a new perceptions to the work field. It is something that can really improve in so many ways. So yes, the connections, the changes, these new steps in societies are all interconnected. We cannot anymore separate things because we have evolved and as a species, and this is changing our relationship in a huge way, and there's a lot of adjustment to do, and that's why when we understand that when we are in business, we are using our emotions to make contacts, to make deals, etc. So this is important to know that you cannot have a person that has a dark attitude or someone that is always pessimistic to try to make a sale. It's not going to work, So the world has changed in a way that before we used to have, in business, we used to have people that were normally the makers, normally the ones with the knowledge of the product, because it was not enough specialized. Now you cannot do almost anything without automation or materialization at a large extent. This is also there in a way. The TV is not just black and white anymore. And if you watch the movies of today, I remember, and I do this sometimes in trainings, I bring this understanding that we have changed so much. I play a movie of the 50s. The Gen Z that are in the meetings, they just say, oh, wow, so some of them, they have never watched these movies, and it's really slow. It's very slow and it's very boring because you know what's going to happen. And they take 20 minutes to tell you something. And we are so fast, then we know already where it's going. So the new movies, they are really, really fast. The changes of emotion, the complexities, they bring you in the past, in the present, in the future. Sometimes you don't even know where you are. And the filmmakers, they do this for a reason. So this is where we are. We are a new humanity, and we need new business, new corporations, and emotions are parts of our life. And what happened, the change that is so huge, and even from COVID and everything, it makes us thinking more deeply, feeling more deeply, and being more deeply. It can result to certain weird things sometimes because they start to dress with symbols. So we need to keep the dress code at certain level. But at the same time, the creativity is there. The creativity is beautiful. The diversity is very beautiful. And we just need, of course, to have structure in place. We cannot suddenly decide that we go in bathing suit at work, because it will not be the right thing to do, definitely, and there will be a lot of dispersions at work. But this is a new way. This is a new epoch. Things have changed. Things will continue to change, and dress code is a good example for that.
You made an interesting comment that all the leaders, they are emotionally very intelligent. They have EQ. It's just that they don't know it, somewhere in the unconscious. Perhaps that is why there is a lot of effort and focus and budget that goes into understanding customer behavior. You gave an example of, a green, red, or yellow if you have to package a certain color as green, etc. So what happens at times is, while doing these behavioral analysis, something which would connect or which would become a success is picked up. It might not necessarily be the right thing, whether it is to do something with, let's say, a rebellion, a product which triggers a rebellion attitude in the young generation. And to get that success, even if it is not the right thing to do, it is still promoted. So it brings in a thought that it's important to have balance and discernment while we are, taking our decisions and applying EQ. So the question for you here is that how much discernment is important when we apply emotional intelligence in our decision making?
You are touching very important subjects to my heart, to be honest, because I think we need to teach discernment on all levels, not just in business, but also in schools. This is where it has to start, because the influence of internet is a consciousness, is a universal human consciousness that we have now at disposal, and we need to be able to discern. This is why we see now a lot of conspiracy theories, because the data that children, teenagers, adults in general are dealing with internet is very huge. Very huge. We have access to a lot of things. And some people, they don't go deep enough. And I think this is the next step also for governments and for also corporations to understand their responsibility in what they create. I sincerely believe that in the future there will be a connection with violent video games, and all these aspects will be having enough stats over 10, 20, 30, 40 years of experimentation to understand that exposing a young child with many, many hours per week can create a different form of attitudes and competitions, anger, selfishness with time. This is what we see also in the Gen Z. We try to understand these new generations, but we have to know where they have been trained. So in what they have been doing for so many hours per week to become that level of globalization and that level also of perceptions and intelligence. And the new generation, they will judge very fast. They are very, very fast on the zapping mode. so and they have no more also somehow feeling diminished in front of someone that is famous or someone that is a top manager. There's no more of impressions or aspects where we can somehow think that others are more important than us, because we have a huge superiority complex on the planet right now that is there because we make our choice fast, and internet and technologies have created a new human race. Altogether, we are different. We have changed, and these changes are bringing a lot of questions, and I believe they are great and wonderful. Plus and minus has always been there. It's part of the experimentation. We need to make mistakes to eventually understand what we have to do. So we are in a huge period of adjustment, and I know companies, they are like, ooh, it's a wave that they haven't seen coming. I was explaining this 25 years ago. Now the phone is ringing because they need experts in this field. And we are there for that. And I think we need a good conversation. And it's good to have a round table in corporation when you put employees together, you put the management together, and then we discuss. And we don't discuss just about work. We discuss about home, parents. We discuss about the memories. And everybody loves this because it brings an understanding that all is interconnected.
We are definitely in that transition phase. You have so rightly put it, Kaya, because even I can feel it, in my job. It has been almost 20 years now for me since I've been working. And my teammates, the new hires who are fresh out of the campus, they are so very different than how I was or how we were at our times. Very much respect, authority, go by step 1, 2, 3, just do as follows. But this generation, the Gen Zs or the millennials, they can process information so fast. They appear to be very confident and they don't hesitate in experimenting in taking decisions. And I'm sure companies are facing this transition wherein the management or the middle management are the boomers. They come from 80s or 90s, but the new workforce who are fresh out of college, they are Gen Zs or millennials, and there is a need to have that this transition should be smooth, the sync should happen. So how can emotional intelligence or EQ help the management to work better with the millennials to have this smooth sync, and vice versa as well? What are the aspects that a youth of today should expect, or steps that he or she should take to connect well with the management, which might come from a different background or different experience altogether? So how can EQ help us solve this puzzle of transition between different generations?
In the round table that we bring when we go in corporation, I always put this discussion up front that the new generation, they need to also understand through respect about the efforts that previous generations have done for them to create this world that they have today. Because we cannot zap and completely change. We need to keep what is good, what is right. And there's a misunderstanding between generations that is very huge right now, because the seniors silently, they are not happy. And those who are starting and arriving with these amazing new fresh ideas and extraordinary energy, I love them so much. But they arrive sometimes with a misconception of the realities. And this is where it's very good, your idea is very good, but it costs a lot of money to do that, Have you ever thought about the budget to implement this? Oh yeah, but we can do this and that and this. Yeah, I understand this. But what you are saying is like, we have to think step by step. So they want to push the change, but they are not realistic enough. And then the senior, they right away counts with the numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like, we cannot do this. So that's why this conversation is necessary. These round tables that we do, it's really amazing. At the beginning, when I enter in a corporation, it's often really like, okay, what's going to be this class? And it's interesting to see the change from when we arrive to when we leave. And because after we have talked about subjects that are sensitive, that we have never discussed at work, and it makes everybody becomes more human. And because of that, then the EQ, the magical aspects of EQ, creates something that is extraordinary in the mixture and in the new connections, because we have talked about the problems on both sides. We have discussed about realities of the business, etc. And this is why putting EQ in training has to become the norm, because this is an adjustment, not just on the work level, but on all what we feel, what we are inside is affecting the work. And this is where it's very not easy to perceive, because things looks great, the office is nice, the cafeteria is nice, everyone is doing the work, but there's an ambience. There's this ambience that is not working. This is where the work needs to be done, because we are more sensitive than ever. and technologies explain have created this multi-dimensional aspects of energies and of frequencies that are now not just in our phones and in the Bluetooth system, but also in humans.
This is definitely amazing. I think a food for thought for all the managers and the team members who are working together. I read a quote somewhere, Kaya, and this relates well with what you have just explained. It says that culture eats strategy for breakfast. So we can have as many good strategies that we would love to, but eventually it is the culture of any organization which implements that strategy. And therefore, it's important to have that round table where all the stakeholders are in sync on the same page. And hence, communicating those thoughts and embedding the right value system in the culture is very important. What role can emotional intelligence or EQ or trainings like that of EQ play in helping organizations to set a strong culture within their firm?
The new culture that we have now in corporation and in the world, it's a culture of leadership. Before, we used to have a boss and we used to have employees. But now we have only bosses. And this is not easy. And it's also challenging because for the new generation, a boss is someone that has experience. It's not someone that has been placed there or that is there because of many years. He has experience and he's supposed to deliver this experience and this wisdom. And if they don't have wisdom or they have the knowledge of the company, because of course they've been there for many years, they know how it works, but they don't express it well. This is where EQ is necessary. So we need to know that you cannot give an order with the fist on the table anymore. It's not working. It's not working at home with your own children, but it used to be like that. We have to understand, if we go back a few generations and not so long ago, just maybe 1, 2, 3 generations, the children used to obey in class. They used to obey their parents. They used to even say you to them, but not like in a personal way. So this has changed. This is totally different. And that's why we are in a culture of leadership. Even my daughter, when I was young, she is part of this generation. She was such a strong leader at 2 years old, at 3 years old. It was amazing. So instead of crushing this, I have thought to her how to become a good leader. I remember I was always telling her, in a very, very young age, I was always telling her, in our family, it is the best idea that decides. It's not papa or mama, it's the best idea. If you have the best idea, you decide. You are the leader. You want to decide? Great. Bring me the best idea. And wow, she became so smart and she started to think like that. So she was always bringing the good idea. That's the culture of leadership. If you want to be a manager or an owner of a company, you want to play golf one day and be relaxed and enjoy the wealth you have created, create a culture of leadership in your company. When you are at your board meeting, you stop the fist on the table. Okay, let's talk. Who has the best ideas? Let's talk about all the ideas. And a good leader is bright and he knows the potential and he's capable of doing a consensus. And a best idea is not coming from one person. One person can bring 10% of the idea, the other one 8%, and then you do the round table, you put all the percentage and the departments together, and then you have the best idea. So, but the way to say to the new generation, and even to the seniors that are sometimes stiff, so afraid to make a mistake, and the new generation like, we can do this and that and this. They throw everything on the table, even if it doesn't make sense, even if there's no budget. Instead of talking in your head, they talk openly, and they are not afraid of making mistakes. This is what a meeting is all about. A meeting is not there to have the perfect elements right away. It's a brainstorming, a real intensification of ideas. This is what emotional intelligence brings also to corporation, because we admit that. We permit that to happen because it's the strength of creation. It is the strength. This is where you can get the new ideas. But if you are afraid of talking in the board meetings because the boss is too intense and he has such an aura and he's such a affirmative, then you are afraid, because if you say something, then he's going to put you down and say, no. For me, when I have meetings, if someone comes with an idea that doesn't make sense, a weird idea with no budget, then instead of discarding the idea and saying, what is that? And I'm losing my time. No. If you say this right now, there's something in this. I have to extract something. And I will always get a percentage that I will add and come back to the person and say, you see, of course, we don't have the budget, but what he said or she said, this is very interesting. If we do this and that and this and that together. And then no one wants to have the only idea, but they want to participate. This is the real culture of leadership.
This is amazing. Having the best idea being chosen, it's good for the firm at large and for the collective, rather than one person driving the show.
And this should be done with our wife and our husband also, in a family, in a couple. This is over the time I'm a man, you're a woman, and, raw, I drive, you don't talk. This is over. We are partners. We are partners together. We talk, we communicate. And the best idea comes through a lot of communication and common sense that we bring together. And the family system is the model of the new corporation. And even if it is not owned by a family, it can be owned by shareholders or by whatever. But the culture of leadership in a family system, that's amazing. Because when you go at work, you go to your family, to your friends, and you are rushing to go there in the morning, not because you have the pressure of the work and the tons of emails you have received and you need to deal with. It's because you are happy. You just want to go there because this is where you feel good. And if we succeed this, then we have the best. We have the extra miles, the extra minutes, No one is too extreme on, okay, I finish at this hour and this second I punch my card. There's flexibility. If you give flexibility, you can ask flexibility also. So if you have taken too long at the cafeteria, then you leave 10, 15 minutes later, and with respect, with good discussion, and to make sure no one also will abuse of this, because this system needs to work with people that they receive also a form of leadership, because they are responsible for themselves and for their participation to the company, to the family, to bring their best. And one thing I say often also when I am in meetings, I say to employees, this company is almost yours and you don't know. You think it's only shareholders that are making money and things like that. But if we take your salaries, you pump almost everything. Just to pay the school of your children that comes from the work you do, you get the big portion of the salaries are the most important expense in a company. So, of course, the huge ones, they will have benefits that can happen, but they are distributed among sometimes thousands of people, thousands and thousands of people that they can have shares in the company. And you can buy shares if you want to have shares also. So stop complaining, just do your work and understand that you benefit from this company. So it's normal that you give back.
Absolutely. It's a two-way street.
Yes.
And everyone benefits when they understand their role. Kyle, you mentioned an interesting, the underlying intention aspect of building a consensus. When the best idea wins, when we have a round table, when we listen to each other, it builds consensus and also invites participation. So, to your point, where people who are involved in that consensus building, they feel that they are also owners.
Yes.
And they go the extra mile in doing their work, and you don't have to ask them to do some extra hours. It comes, from within them.
They will even think in the bus, or they will even think in the cab, or when they come to office.
To be able to experience this, an important aspect is expression. How do we express our intention? How do we communicate that part so that everyone is in line, we are working together? How can training on EQ help us to work on our ability to communicate and express well in terms of our intentions and the vision that we have for any organization?
This can only come from the management side, because the management is the head. So if they don't want that, even if employees have needs to communicate and say things, if the management is not open to this, then the discussion of evolution and of improvement creates clash. It doesn't work. So management needs to understand that in a world of diversity, in a world of specialization, we need to listen to the people, like a government needs to listen to the population, because they prepare the new laws and the new regulation in regards of the needs of the societies. It's a common sense, and this is how it has to be done. And the management needs to understand that sharing their leadership, because they still have the leadership, because they have the legal responsibility, so to make sure it's working. And that's why they are at this level. But listening to others and also permitting to the communication to happen. Because if they don't say that, okay, I want to hear your ideas now, best ideas decide. If they don't put and implement this in the corporation, when you are an employee, you want to keep your job. If you say an idea that is not really good or ready because you don't have enough experience, when you say it, you haven't thought about the budget, you haven't thought about this, or what you ask means we need to build a new factory. So we need to give this creative process to them. So this conversation, these round tables, can only improve after. But what we need to teach in EQ, in management, is don't wait and don't expect the idea to be perfect. Don't judge the person. Extract a percentage. It's like when there's a conflict. It's the same thing. When there's a conflict, there's always two sides at a medal. It's impossible that a conflict will emerge only from one person. There is something on both sides. That's extraction. We can understand now, through extraction of percentage, we can understand where is the problem or where is the aspect that we can improve.
You just caught my brainwave, Kaya. I was just thinking about when we are talking about culture building, how can we include emotional intelligence or take its help to conflict resolution or negotiation? Because eventually we are dealing with people who come with different opinions. There's always a give and take. So how can EQ help us to arrive at that middle path which is good for all, so that we are able to extract well from any negotiation or any conflicting issues that a person faces in the corporation?
First, we need to know that the back office is always frustrated because they are in the back office. And the golden boys are in the front, and they are shining, and they go to restaurants with clients, and they do all the paperwork in the back. That's why we need to also implicate them in a way where they understand the work, they see a lot of paperwork, they see a lot of dynamics happening. And if you keep the tech guy in a corner, and you, just because he's smart and whatever, and you don't communicate, you don't bring EQ experience, EQ communication, then we are somehow losing a potential, and we can even create a deeper problem in the company in the future, because all the frustrated ones will be in the same cafe and they will build the culture, and that is creating the toxic environment that we don't want to happen. The more the company, the corporation is well established, the more the human resources needs to be really well in place and balanced. Of course, in small companies, we have different things, like when there's less employees, then we have this dynamic where they know each other. They have different hats, etc., etc. But in big corporation, you have different departments, and it's normal. You cannot also work in different ways. But at the same time, you need to understand that the guy that is doing this all the time, sooner or later, and especially the new generation, they will ask or they will find another place. So he's not going to do this all the time. So you need to diversify their work so they can do many different things. And even this person that that is doing this in the factory, you see his skills, you see his potential, you need to think of his future. And you need also to tell him that you have a future. You're not just going to do this. If you do this well, you know it, I'm going to show you something else to you. And then you train others. That's the basics of management. Normally, the best ones, they grow in the company. But diversification is a dynamic that will help the person to develop different skills inside the structure of the company. And when we do this, we find people being very, very happy. For me, in all the projects that I have been involved, I've always thought like this. And at some point, I don't look like the boss anymore, and I love it. I just love it. When people are empowered, I feel like my children. I feel like what I have done is amazing, and people, they feel it is their project, their company, their structure. This is beautiful. And then after, we have time. I don't have time to play golf, but I have time to do EQ business in corporations now.
Talking with you, Kaya, it seems that, there is a need for a refresh of how we teach business management to students, especially applying EQ.
I remember I was in a university for hotel management, and I had a class to give to them. And for me, this is so evident. Sometimes we forget that simple things makes it all. So I said to them, okay, you are going to be top managers for hotels in so many countries, and you are in a very good university for this now. So I said, there's one thing you need to know. The difference between a 5-star and a 3 stars hotel, it's the toilet. It is as simple as that. And it's in each hotel room or in the lobby. In 5 stars hotel, the toilet are, and the restaurants are, wow. You want to have people from many countries being happy and you have good foods, you have things like that. Make sure the kitchen is clean. Make sure, the employees are trained to understand that when it is clean, we are free. We feel free. We are not too careful. And the same thing in a company, the toilet of employees. It's not because they are not clients. They have to have a proper space where they don't need to be like this and be always like, oh, and have this moment that is just for them. That is not the best, you see. EQ thinks about these things. We take an idea and we analyze it. We make it better. We improve. And we also make sure that people are happy in the process. And yes, it is possible to be happy with results and with the right numbers. Numbers are very important in a company. If you don't have the numbers, you cannot bring the quality, the good human resource structure. It works together. And we have to talk to our employees this way. We have to say, okay, let's bring the results, and then we will do this, we will build this, we will bring the coffee lounge, like Starbucks, so you can have a nice cafeteria. We will completely redesign the cafeteria for you, but bring me the results.
Absolutely. So EQ, I think, is that thread which permeates through all aspects of business, of how an organization is run. And when you spoke about numbers, it really correlates well with the last question that I had in my mind, is about measuring success. Eventually, people are in the field of business or professionally, they are tuned in with certain parameters of success in their mind. So if we have company A, which is having huge profits, very impressive figures, but not so happy employees, not so good culture, and we have a company B, which has good amount of profits, not exceptional, but really happy, employees and good culture, and they have really integrated EQ well. Out of these two, company A or B, what do you think in today's terms is the right measurement of success from a long-term perspective?
The A concept that you talk is over. If you keep it in this direction, employees will not stay. They will not be loyal. As soon as they can, bye-bye. They go to a better place where they are recognized, where they will have a place that they can feel empowered in the structure. So these companies are in trouble right now because that's where the Gen Z and the millennials, they are arriving. This culture is over. We have to find the balance and create this incorporation, creates a recipe that makes happiness. When there's no budget for X reason and this and that, we have to explain. We're not ready yet. We have efforts to do. But when the profits are there, of course, we need to acknowledge this also. I saw just this morning a video of a very important hotel and spa resort, and I was very touched because the owner is one of the person that has done EQ business with us, and I have done also consultation. She's CEOs of many corporations, also pharmacy industries, etc. in many countries. She's a very, very good woman that has always had, she was really in advance in her questions. And I have seen the video of the resorts and spa that she has. It's a really high-end place that she has created. And it was amazing because the video was filming all employees saying, I've been working here for 9 years. I've been working here for 15 years. I have been working here for 4 years, and from all departments. And wow, you felt like not just going to this hotel or this spa, you felt like you wanted to meet these people. You wanted to meet all of them. They were becoming, the face of her company and her structure. And I think this is where we are. And when we are owners and CEOs, when we do this, we feel good. There's something that we cannot describe when we open a door. You feel something. Sometimes it's boring. Sometimes it's like a law firm and it's like a notary firm, whatever. And it's like everyone looks sad. The paintings on the walls are ugly. But the decoration is very modern. But the paintings, they are so sad. They express the place also. That's what EQ is all about. We understand that everything is connected. You understand symbolically a place, a person, the way she dressed, the way she shaked a hand. Everything means something. And when we are happy, we start to feel the environment becoming happy.
EQ touches the right chords with people around us, which is not only good for numbers from a business perspective, but it is also good for setting the right culture. Kaya, as an expert in the field of EQ, would you like to share any message or any keyword that our listeners or viewers who belong to different corporations can take with them, which will help them to implement this knowledge better in their respective offices?
Yes. So it's time not to measure only the numbers, but to measure also the level of happiness. Think about this.
Thank you, Kaya. Thank you so much for your time, for your guidance. It was so lovely talking with you on this important subject, and we really hope that this brings in the seed of change for people who see this conversation and eventually the change in the collective. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Darpan.